Your world is waiting, but first you have to access it. Welcome to the Joshua Roy Show. We don't do fluff, we do freedom. Real talk on mindset, cutting edge coaching techniques, and the hidden frameworks for lasting change. If you're ready to move from being stuck to becoming the architect of your life, you're ready for this. Hit subscribe. Let's get to work.
Good morning, it's Joshua Roy here, and today we're speaking about self-sabotage. There are 6 main reasons why we self-sabotage, and we're going to get to those reasons shortly. But I wanted to start today by simply saying hello and welcome. I'm really excited to be sharing some information that could literally transform your life. Information is simply information unless you apply it. You see, all knowledge comes from application of information. So if you want knowledge, if you want this information which you learned today to turn into knowledge in your life, turn into knowledge that you can use to create a better life for yourself, then you must apply it. It's no good listening and otherwise learning the information or just learning the data without actual application. And this is what takes it from, an idea or a concept into knowledge, is when we apply it and then we know it. Quite simply, if you don't do it, you don't know it. That's what it comes down to. So self-sabotage, what is it and how does it relate to you? When I think about self-sabotage, one of my first thoughts goes to a woman that I know in the city. I was walking down the city or through the city one day, and as I was walking along, I happened by this woman, and as I was approaching her and passing her, I felt this terrible smell. I looked around, noticing that it was a woman that I had known, and I could see that she had urinated down the insides of her trouser legs. She was drunk, hopelessly drunk, and this was her state of being. And the reason I know her is that I've seen her many times in my profession. I work as a police officer in the city. I currently work in the watch house, and I've seen her come through the watch house on a number of occasions. And as she's come through the watch house on all those occasions, she has done so because of being a public nuisance and being drunk in a public place. And the police don't know what to do with her, and so they bring her and give her a bed and breakfast, and we send her to court on some occasions because she doesn't turn up to court on her own volition, simply because her life is one that's fairly much out of control. The reason I think about this woman in relation to self-sabotage is that when I spoke with this woman on one occasion, I discovered that she was a bank manager. She was very articulate in her speech, and as a bank manager, she had a number of people under her. Now, I don't know exactly what happened, however, I do know that there was a falling out in her family, her immediate family, and her children kind of rejected her, and her husband left her. And what happened was that over the next period of time, she began to spiral out of control. She developed a drinking habit or an addiction, and many years later, this has led her into a place where she is or has become one of the town drunks. And so it's a very negative downward spiral and course that she has traveled down, and it's one that's landed her in a very unfulfilling and let's say unprestigious point in her life, where she has a loss of self-worth, feels very worthless about herself, and she's become hopelessly controlled by the addiction of alcohol in her life. And as I thought about this woman and her fall from grace, I thought this could easily apply to you and I, that we could learn a lot, and in fact we do learn a lot from other people. In fact, there's 3 ways we can learn. We can learn through our own mistakes, or we can learn through the mistakes of others. And I guess the third way would be to read or research that learning. We can learn about it through communication. We can learn about it through, really there's only 2 factors. What did I say, 3? There's only really 2 ways to learn. It's our own experience and other people's experience. I also think about a father and a son who were out fishing one day, and as they were on the beach fishing, The son got a bit bored and went off and started digging up crabs, and after about half an hour to 40 minutes, the father returned, still hadn't caught anything, but as he looked into the bucket that they had brought with them, he noticed that there was a whole bunch of crabs in there. His son, you see, had been busily collecting crabs on the beach, and he'd filled this bucket, or half filled it, with these crabs, and these crabs were eagerly trying to get out of this bucket. And what he noticed was interesting is that as one crab began to climb up the bucket, another crab would reach up and pull it down. Not that the crabs were malicious, but the crabs were reaching to help themselves out. We live in a very selfish world, very egocentric. People are driven to behave as they do so for their own betterment, for their own self. They're always concerned about me. It's what do I want? What am I after? And these crabs are no different. So each crab was trying to get out itself. And in order to get out, the crab was reaching up to grab something that would pull or lever itself up. And it just so happened that what was up there was another crab. And so it would pull that crab down. Not meaning to pull it down. In fact, the crab wanted to boost itself up so it could get out of the bucket. And it was quite interesting that the crabs were unable to escape because there was always another crab there pulling it down. And I want you to think about self-sabotage in this way. Anything that stops you or prevents you from achieving your goal or outcome, we could call self-sabotage. Now, the reason I say anything is some of you might say, well, no, somebody else stopped me. I was blocked by some situation or some circumstance or by another person. May I be so bold as to say that all things in life, if we really want to play this game to the fullest level of achievement and advancement, if we really want to take full responsibility for everything that we are, then we need to begin to recognize or realize that we're in control. That everything that happens in your life happens at some level because you create it. Now, if we want to play this game to the highest level, the game of responsibility, that's how we play it. We say, I'm responsible for everything that happens in my life and in my world. So if something happens that blocks us or prevents us from getting the goal or outcome that we want, then what we want to do is say, well, how did I create that? And how do I create something else? Now, I hear you saying, well, no, somebody else did it, or somebody else said something, or something else got in the way and I had to refocus my energy. Let me just say this, that anything that stops you, prevents you from getting that which you want, at some level, is self-sabotage. We're sending out messages, signals into the universe at all times. So the highest level of empowerment says, to be empowered, you're responsible for everything that happens in your world, either through your actions or your non-actions. Either through your thoughts and beliefs or the absence of such. So we're creating everything in our world. And I want you to come from this frame that you're responsible for everything, because what that does is puts you in the driver's seat and says, well, I can change it because I'm responsible. What we want to get away from is saying, I'm not responsible. We'll talk about responsibility a little bit later when it comes to one of the 6 reasons why we self-sabotage. So let's dig in. Let's get into the reasons why. There's a little acronym that I produced, and it is losers. L-O-S-E-R-S. Now, I'm not suggesting that anybody is a loser. In fact, I firmly believe that we either win or we learn, that there are no losers. There's 2 conditions in life. You win or you learn. That's it. And so if ever you feel like you failed, just ask yourself the question, what's great about this? What did I learn from this? And if you begin writing your learnings and you get the learnings, then you've achieved a great deal. Now, if you've achieved a great deal, have you lost? Well, I say no. I say if you've achieved something, if you've got some insight, some understanding, if you've got some knowledge for future reference, if you've got some experience, then you haven't lost anything. What you've done is you've advanced in a different way. You've advanced through information and knowledge. You may not have advanced financially. You may not have advanced in your relationship, but you got knowledge, you got understanding. If you take the time to dissect the information and learn from it going forward. All right, so that's the first thing, is that no one's a loser, but I use this acronym to help us to remember that these self-sabotaging behaviors can lead us into a very negative spiral. And if we do fail to learn the lessons of life, then we will lose. We may lose our relationship. We may lose money. We may lose, our health. We may wind up, having a big belly and, not being able to look after ourselves. So there are many things that we can lose. We've got to be careful about what we could potentially lose. And that's why I use this word losers, because that's something that we don't want. We don't want to go in that negative spiral like I've described this woman out in the city was going down, this negative spiral that spirals us down into the depths of despair. We don't want to go there. What we want to do is take this positive route, go up on this positive spiral up towards greater heights of achievement and success and happiness and joy. That's where we want to go. And that's what today's about, is helping us to get off the loser track and into the winning track. And so there's two acronyms. One is losers. The second is win. And that's really where we want to go. We want to make sure that we win. So even if we fall short of our goal, we learn the lessons that we need to learn. We get the insights. We get the understanding. We turn that into knowledge because we go over it in our mind, and then we win. So we use that to win. So I want to invite you today to think about these two acronyms and say, I don't want the losers. I don't want to be on that side. I want to be on the winning side. What we're looking for is creating this positive upward spiral. Now, if you've been on a negative downward spiral, you may need some help to change that around. One service that I offer is life coaching. What life coaching does is helps you get onto that positive spiral upwards. There's two reasons why people would take on life coaching. One reason is your life's not working. Therefore, you want some coachings to get it to work. What I'm suggesting is you're not creating in your life that which you want. Maybe you're not reaching your financial goals. You're not reaching your emotional, spiritual goals. You're not reaching your health goals. You're not reaching other goals in life. So if you're not reaching these goals, then at some level you're self-sabotage. We've already said that. What you might need to do is reach out to a coach or someone who can help you stay accountable until you begin to build these track records of success in your own life. One thing that we know is nothing breeds success like success. So when you start going on this positive upward spiral, then you can continue on that spiral. Now, if somebody's already doing quite well in their life, I would suggest that that person needs coaching too. And you say, well, why? Because the person's life already works. I get that, and it's great that your life's working. When did you decide, however, that you couldn't get there faster? When did you decide that you couldn't turn your 3-year goals into 3-month goals? When did you decide that you couldn't turn 6 months into 1 month? When did you decide that you couldn't progress at a phenomenal accelerated rate in a specific area of your life that you choose? You see, what coaching does is helps you to reach your goals faster, reach your goals more congruently, reach your goals in the best possible way. Perhaps reach your goals and not let everything else fall by the wayside. Like, for example, you could focus on one goal to the exclusion of everything else. What a life coach will do will help you keep that balance in your life if that's what you want. The life coach works for you. The life coach helps you, one, dissolve, resolve, or solve issues or challenges in the past, helps you deal with limited beliefs and values conflicts in the present, and moving forward, we help you to create new beliefs, new empowering beliefs that will take you to where you want to go, to where you want to be, rather than where you are currently heading. And so if you want to change that trajectory in your life, I would suggest getting a coach, because a coach will do that. He will help you, or she will help you change that trajectory in your life. And I'm not the only coach out there. There's many coaches. I'm a very good coach. I know my stuff. I know how to help people to resolve issues and conflicts in many different ways. And I've been coaching now for 4 years. I did some part-time coaching even before that. So I've actually really been coaching for about 10 years that I've been helping people along their journey through life. I've been doing paid coaching just for the last 4 years. So we're heading into our 5th year now, and it's just been a really exciting journey, and it's been life-altering for myself and also the people whom I've coached. because it had that level of accountability to help them to step up and be the very best version of themselves. So let's look at the reasons why we self-sabotage. So let's look at losers. Losers. The first is loss of self-worth. When somebody takes a hit in their life, and we all take hits, let's say somebody goes through a divorce or somebody goes to the doctor and their health isn't really good. So a person can lose their feelings of self-worth. A lot of feelings of self-worth come through rejection. When people reject us, that's probably one of the biggest self-worth hurdles that we have in our life. I remember in high school, and high school kids can be cruel. I had two friends. One's name was Josh Feggins, and the other one's name was Downsy. I can't remember Downsy's first name, but Feggins and Downsy were there, and my friend Josh was very influential. He had a lot of friends, and he had a lot of charisma. And for some reason, he grew a dislike for this person, Downsy, who I felt was very popular, and just as popular as Josh. Anyway, Feggins had this way of working the group, and he did such in a way that people began to turn against Downsy. People began to ostracize him and leave him out. And I'm ashamed to say that I was one of those people, that I began to avoid Downsy and to not be with him again because of some of the things that was said and done about him. That I was told constantly that he was, not a good friend, and the reasons why he wasn't. And Downsy, after a time, was left on the outer. He was kind of left by himself, and I saw his self-worth plummet. It really did plummet, and he stopped communicating and talking, and he stopped laughing, and there was a few things that he stopped doing. Now, it happened that he moved to a new school, and after moving to a new school, he formed a new group of friends, and I once again saw the old Feggins, the old Downsy many years later, as he began communicating with his friends again, and he began to lift his self-worth and feel better about himself. So rejection is one of the big ones. I mean, there's nothing worse than being rejected in a marriage, right? That's a big hit to the self-esteem, to the ego. Any type of rejection, though, can cause us to lose our self-worth. Or any type of behavior that causes us to continually feel worse about ourselves. Like if you're trying to do something and you find you can't, you find yourself slipping back into old patterns and old ways of being. Addictions, for example, can cause a person to lose self-worth because you're trying to overcome and you're employing this method and that, and you keep failing, keep falling short, and the person may end up just feeling very, very bad about themselves because they're in that negative spiral down. Now, why does a person lose self-worth? Why does a person self-sabotage through the loss of self-worth? One psychological understanding that we have is there's a thing called cognitive dissonance. If you've ever heard of cognitive dissonance, this is where there's a space between your achievement in life, or where you're going in life, and the way you really feel about yourself. So your values and beliefs. So if your values and beliefs and your achievements are miles apart, let's say you're doing really well in certain things, certain areas of your life, however your belief in yourself is very limited because you have low self-worth, you may sabotage your results simply to bring yourself down to where you think you need to be. And so somebody will throw a spanner in the works, they'll self-sabotage simply because they're getting too big for themselves, their self-worth isn't strong enough to support the success that they're receiving in their life. So this is one reason why people self-sabotage, is a loss of self-worth. The second reason people may self-sabotage is they feel out of control. You feel like there's, in an aeroplane, and if you've ever seen the movie Top Gun, there was a scene there where Maverick and also the Goose, who was the other co-pilot, they were in a flat spin and they had to get out. And he kept trying to bring the plane back into control and was unable to do so. And so sometimes in our lives we could get into a flat spin like that, where we're just in this spin and we can't seem to get out. Now, where we feel out of control is often when we go out of our comfort zone. We go into the unknown, uncertainty, when there's too much variety. You see, one of the needs that we have in life is certainty. That's our first human need. The second one is variety or uncertainty. Now, we need both of these. We need certainty and we need uncertainty. Now, one of them may be more than the other. We may have more certainty and more uncertainty as being a bigger need. Now, if our need for certainty is very large, and yet we go into a space where we're completely uncertain, what may happen is we may sabotage our results simply to bring ourselves back into certainty, simply to bring ourselves back to the place where we are within our comfort zone. So here we are, we're going out of our comfort zone. It's so uncertain. We feel so out of control there that we want to bring ourselves back so we're in control. And so what a person may do is self-sabotage and bring themselves, if you think of a ship that's sinking, if it's not sinking fast, it's like the Titanic and takes a number of hours to sink. So what a person may do is begin to sink themselves very slowly, very methodically, bringing themselves back to where they're back in their comfort zone, back where they feel like everything's safe and okay again. And so being out of control is the second reason why people self-sabotage. They want to bring things back to being within their comfort zone, within what's comfortable. The third reason people self-sabotage is a scapegoat. And what this is a handy scapegoat. The fourth reason people self-sabotage is to end boredom. The fifth reason people self-sabotage is to revert to what's familiar. And the sixth reason people self-sabotage is smoke and mirrors. So these are the 6 reasons why people self-sabotage. I ran out of time to discuss the last 3 or 4 points, but if you would like to know more about this topic, about self-sabotage, then please come along to the meetup. It'll be tomorrow, the 21st of the 11th, 2019, and it'll be held in Brisbane City Library, and that's from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. I will go further in and discuss all these issues around self-sabotage so that you can get the full benefit of the 2-hour seminar where we will actually discuss where you're self-sabotaging your life and actually create something that will help you move forward so that you can escape self-sabotaging behavior. Anyway, this is Joshua Roy. Thanks very much for listening. Just remember, your commitment to yourself should be to discover who you really are. Unlock your incredible self and unleash that on the world.